It's shaping up to be a very active Atlantic storm season. Isaias is our 9th named storm. Usually don't get this till about October. It's mainly a rainmaker than particularly damaging winds. Still could cause destruction though, as that is in and out of hurricane status during the next 24 hours. This massive white blob of cloud you can now see is where the rainfall is intensified across the Grand Bahama during the last 12 hours. And then that storm could just clip the Florida coast as it works its way northward to the rest of Sunday into Monday. It may not make landfall until it hits North Carolina, and then as a decade storm will push inland across the Atlantic states, maybe moving across the likes of Washington and New York. The main issues, though, will be during the next 24 hours, particularly on the Florida coast. It's here where we could still see hurricane force winds and a potential of a 1-metre storm surge causing widespread flooding. It's along the Florida coast, and then as it moves inland across the Carolinas through Virginia towards New York, we could see anything up to 150 millimetres of rain. That could cause flooding inland as well, but by which stage it will be much more of a decade storm as the winds continue to ease.
Thank you, Lauren. And we're taking a look at Isaias, a tropical storm right now. Continues to churn just off the east coast of Florida right now. Winds are at 65 miles per hour, and it's moving off to the northwest at about 8. You can see most of the energy with the storm off to the east of the storm itself. Most of the higher cloud tops and where a lot of the rain is, and most of the wind at the moment continues over the portions of the Grand Bahama Islands. But they are starting to pick up a little bit more activity now across the east coast of Florida. You can see a little bit better here on the radar imagery. Kind of the eye wall, which is kind of broken down a little bit over the past few hours, but now starting to pick up some heavier rains up towards Daytona, and you can see some better showers close in a little bit here as we get into West Palm Beach, up around Melbourne, Fort Pierce too, Fort Lauderdale. They're getting winds in Fort Lauderdale and Miami just out of the north and the northwest, not coming off the shore, but coming off the land there as they get that counterclockwise wind around it. So it continues to push on up the Florida coast as we go on into later on this afternoon with those winds. It doesn't look to strengthen anymore or really even weekend. It stays at about 65 mile per hour winds. It's really close, again, about 40 miles just off the shore right now, the center of the storm, but still picking up some high winds, some high surf too. By tomorrow afternoon off the coast of Georgia, still a tropical storm at that point, and then making landfall anywhere along South Carolina. I would say anywhere from Hilton Head up to Myrtle Beach. Anywhere in this zone here, it could make landfall. So we'll watch for that as we go on into later in the day on Monday before moving into eastern North Carolina as we get on into overnight Monday night and very early on Tuesday, bringing some heavy rains with it too. Again, that track could change a little bit as we go through time. So here's what we can expect locally here. 1 to 2 inches possible of rain in the triad from a tropical storm and a front that's back out to our west. We'll show you in a little bit. And we could see wind gusts 20 to 30 miles per hour, maybe as early as late tomorrow afternoon. 2 to 4 inches of rain down east, and that'll be around the I-95 area around the triangle. Here's the front I was talking about. It's just on the other side of the mountains in Tennessee. It moves into North Carolina over the next 24 hours. So that will bring some extra rain to the mountains for sure, and then we'll continue to watch Isaias as it stays over Florida through the day today and then moves up over Georgia or off the Georgia coast as we go into tomorrow afternoon. Flash flood watches are issued for eastern North Carolina from the triangle points east along the coastal plain, and the mountains have a flash flood watch, and some of that's from Isaias as the rains kind of get some upslope, but also from that front that's back out over the mountains. That will help to enhance the chance for rain. So when we look at the European model, which shows some rainfall totals, and this could adjust a little bit in its tracking here, but anywhere from 2 to 4 inches in the upstate of South Carolina, 2 inches here possible here in the Triad, and some good rains up over the mountains too. And we're also watching another little system, could become a tropical depression by midweek. It's just on the other side of the Leeward Islands. We're going to stick with Isaias right now, and we'll see if that develops by midweek or so. Mid 70s at the moment, just about everywhere, although 78 in Burlington and Asheboro, so warming up quickly out there. Nothing on the radar to show you, but as we go into this afternoon, we are real close to this marginal zone for some severe activity later today. So seeing some strong or severe thunderstorms scattered about later this afternoon is certainly possible. Tomorrow we'll start off temperatures muggy into the 70s, and then as we get on into tomorrow afternoon, that chance for showers and thunderstorms on Monday afternoon. We'll keep those in the forecast, and the winds will start to pick up a little bit too. Be a little breezy today with highs in the low 90s, and breezy Monday and Tuesday mid 80s. Better chances of rain then. We keep in a scattered shower or storm through the middle and end part of the week.
I'm CNN meteorologist Allison Chinchard. The latest on Tropical Storm Isaias: sustained winds of 65 miles per hour, gusting to 75 miles per hour. The forward movement shifting a little bit farther to the north-northwest at just about 8 miles per hour. Here's a look at the track. Still a possible landfall over the Space Coast of Florida at some point later today. If that does not happen, the next likely landfall spot will be over the Carolinas late Monday into early Tuesday morning. From there, it continues up the East Coast into some northeastern states such as New Jersey, New York, and even as far north as Maine. Here's a look at where we have tropical storm warnings out for much of the east coast of Florida, as well as Georgia and southern portions of South Carolina. For the northern portion of South Carolina and most of North Carolina, you have tropical storm watches in effect. Those are likely to transition to tropical storm warnings in about the next 24 hours as we get closer to a potential landfall. Storm surge is still going to be one of the potential impacts from this storm. 1 to 3 feet from Jupiter, Florida, stretching all the way up through the Georgia-South Carolina state line. But for places like Charleston and Myrtle Beach, 2 to 4 feet of storm surge is possible. But keep in mind, for a lot of these places, the full moon is on Monday. So a lot of these areas are going to be looking at astronomically high tides for the month. Take, for example, Jacksonville. High tide Sunday evening should be right around 6 feet. So you will have to factor in an additional 1, 2, or even 3 feet on top of that number. For a place like Charleston, which typically gets flooding in situations like this, Monday evening's high tide of just over 6 feet, you will likely have to add 2 to 4 feet on top of that because of Isaias. In terms of rainfall, oddly, the heaviest rainfall will not be in Florida, despite the close landfall approach. It's actually going to stretch from the Carolinas all the way up through New York. Widespread amounts of 4 to 6 inches are likely, but you could have a couple isolated spots, particularly in the Carolinas or even portions of Virginia, where you could get slightly higher amounts than that. This is why you have flash flood watches in effect Monday and Tuesday for both the Carolinas as well as portions of Virginia. Also, when you have that ground that will be saturated, it does not take very strong winds to bring trees down. So keep in mind that while most areas likely to have 40 to 60 mile per hour winds, there will be some spots that could get 60, even up to 75 mile per hour wind gusts. That means you are still likely to have trees come down and still likely to have power outages for a lot of these areas, even if they are not where the direct landfall takes place.